The engine wouldn't start. Not that it mattered. Raoul had the keys, and I was trapped. It was the day I understood the full extent of his manipulation, a day that started with a wedding and ended with my freedom. I never thought a car could feel so much like a prison. Hi everyone. My name is Nadia, and I want to share a story with you that changed my life forever. I hope my experience helps someone out there going through something similar. Please, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. I love hearing from all of you. It had all started 8 months earlier. Raoul was charming, confident, everything I thought I wanted. He swept me off my feet with romantic dates and promises of a future. I fell hard, maybe too hard, too fast. I was blinded by the fairy tale, unwilling to see the red flags waving right in front of my face.
The first hint that something was off came subtly. Little things. Raoul always choosing the restaurant, the movie, the activity. He'd dismiss my preferences with a smile and a "trust me, you'll love it." And I usually did. Or at least I told myself I did. I wanted to be easygoing, to be the cool girlfriend. Then came the comments about my friends, my job. He'd phrase them as suggestions, ways I could improve myself, become more sophisticated. He never outright said I wasn't good enough, but the implication was always there, hanging in the air like a humid summer day. The wedding invitation arrived. A thick cream envelope embossed with Raoul's sister's name, Monica, and her soon-to-be husband, Stanley. I was excited. This was my chance to finally meet his family, to solidify our relationship in their eyes. I envisioned laughing with his aunts, bonding with his cousins, feeling like I belonged. We spent weeks agonizing over the perfect gift. I wanted to make a good impression, to show Monica and Stanley how much I cared. I finally settled on a custom-made wooden serving tray, inlaid with a mosaic of their initials and wedding date. It was beautiful, thoughtful, and frankly, quite expensive, costing around $300. Raoul seemed impressed, even proud. The day of the wedding dawned bright and sunny. I spent hours getting ready, carefully applying my makeup, and choosing a dress I hoped would strike the perfect balance between elegant and understated. Raoul arrived, looking handsome in a tailored suit. He complimented my appearance, but his eyes seemed to linger a bit too long, assessing me as if I were an object on display. The ceremony was lovely. Monica looked radiant in her white gown, and Stanley beamed with happiness. I squeezed Raoul's hand, feeling a surge of affection. This was it, I thought. This was the start of our forever. The reception was held at a sprawling country club, complete with manicured lawns, sparkling fountains, and a live band. As we walked into the reception hall, Raoul suddenly stiffened. "Oh," he said, his voice tight. "There's someone I need to talk to. Just wait here a second, okay?" Before I could respond, he was gone, weaving through the crowd like a man on a mission. I stood awkwardly near the entrance, feeling like a stranger in a foreign land. I watched as Raoul approached a woman with long dark hair and a dazzling smile. They embraced, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. He came back, his face flushed. "Nadia, this is my friend, Emily." "Emily, this is Nadia." "Just a friend?" After 8 months of dating, romantic dinners, and whispered promises, I was just a friend. The insult stung, but I swallowed it down, forcing a smile. "Nice to meet you, Emily," I said, extending my hand. Emily's smile seemed a bit too wide, a bit too practiced. "You, too," she replied, her eyes flicking over me with a dismissive glance. Raoul excused himself again, saying he needed to greet some other guests. I watched him disappear into the crowd, leaving me alone with Emily. So Emily said, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness, "How do you know Raoul? We're dating." I said, stating the obvious. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Oh, she said. I didn't realize. We go way back, you know. Since high school. The conversation was stilted and uncomfortable.
Emily regaled me with stories of her and Raoul's past adventures, painting a picture of a bond that seemed unbreakable. I felt like an outsider, a temporary placeholder in Raoul's life. Finally, Raoul returned. Ready to mingle? He asked, his hand resting possessively on Emily's back. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I bit my tongue, forcing myself to play along. The rest of the reception was a blur of forced smiles, awkward small talk, and gnawing insecurity. Raoul barely acknowledged my presence, spending most of his time chatting with Emily and his other friends. As the evening drew to a close, Raoul announced that he needed to grab something from the car. He told me to wait for him near the entrance. I watched him walk away, my heart heavy with disappointment. He came back a few minutes later. Okay, let's go. We walked in silence to the parking lot.
As we approached the car, Raoul suddenly stopped. Wait here, he said, his voice curt. I need to talk to someone. He unlocked the car, tossed my purse inside, and then locked the doors again. Before I could react, he was walking away, heading towards Emily, who was standing near the valet stand. I watched in disbelief as they talked and laughed. I tried the car door. Locked. I looked around for Raoul, but he was engrossed in his conversation with Emily. I felt a surge of panic. I was trapped, alone, and completely humiliated. I checked my purse for my phone, but it wasn't there. He'd taken it. My blood ran cold. It was then I knew something was terribly wrong. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The band had stopped playing. Most of the guests had left. The parking lot was nearly deserted. Still, Raoul didn't return.
Finally, after what felt like hours, he sauntered back to the car, a smug look on his face. He unlocked the doors and slid into the driver's seat. What was that about? I asked, my voice trembling with suppressed anger. Just catching up with an old friend, he said, shrugging. You locked me in the car, Raoul, and you took my phone. Why? He sighed, as if I were being unreasonable. Look, Nadia, I didn't want things to be awkward. Emily's my ex, and I didn't want her to think I was, flaunting you. I was mortified. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So, you locked me in a car because you didn't want your ex to think you were flaunting me? He avoided my gaze. It's not like it was a big deal. You were only in there for a few minutes. A few minutes? Raoul, I was locked in a car, without my phone, at your sister's wedding. And you introduced me as your friend to your family after 8 months. What is going on? He sighed again. Look, it's complicated. Okay, my family, they have certain expectations. Emily's family is, well, they're very well connected. I didn't want to make things weird. I stared at him in disbelief. He cared more about his family's perception than my feelings. He cared more about impressing his ex than respecting me. The drive home was silent and tense. I replayed the events of the day in my head, each moment more painful than the last. I realized that Raoul hadn't just humiliated me. He had completely disrespected me. When we arrived at my apartment, I barely acknowledged him. I grabbed my purse and phone and practically ran inside. I slammed the door shut, locking him out of my life, or so I hoped. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, replaying the wedding in my mind. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I felt used, manipulated, and completely betrayed. I needed answers, and I needed advice. I turned to the internet, seeking solace in the anonymous corners of online forums. I poured out my heart to strangers, detailing the events of the day, Raoul's behavior, and my own confusion. The responses were overwhelming. Most of the users were supportive and validated my feelings. They told me I deserved better, that Raoul's behavior was unacceptable, and that I should end the relationship immediately. Some shared similar experiences, offering words of encouragement and practical advice. One comment, in particular, stood out. "He locked you in a car? That's not love, that's control. Run, girl, run. And don't look back." The next morning, Raoul showed up at my apartment, looking contrite. He brought flowers and a box of chocolates, attempting to smooth things over with empty gestures. "Nadia, I'm so sorry," he said, his voice dripping with sincerity. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just trying to protect myself." "Protect yourself," I repeated, my voice cold. "From what?" "From your family finding out you're dating someone beneath you?" His face flushed. "That's not what I meant," he stammered. "Then what did you mean, Raoul? Explain to me why you locked me in a car, introduced me as your friend, and prioritized your ex over my feelings." He avoided my gaze. "Look, my family. They can be a bit snobbish, okay? They expect me to be with someone on their level, someone with the right pedigree, the right connections." The words hit me like a slap in the face. So, that was it. He thought I wasn't good enough.
"And you agree with them, don't you?" I said, my voice trembling with anger. "You think I'm not on your level. That I'm not worthy of your family's approval." He didn't deny it. His silence spoke volumes. "Then we're done, Raoul," I said, my voice firm. "I deserve someone who values me for who I am, not for who they think I should be. I deserve someone who respects me, not someone who locks me in a car and treats me like a secret." He looked shocked. "Nadia, don't do this," he pleaded. "I love you." "No, you don't," I said. "You love the idea of me. You love the way I make you feel, but you don't actually love me. Because if you did, you wouldn't have treated me the way you did." I handed him the flowers and chocolates. "Get out, Raoul," I said, "and don't ever come back." He lingered for a moment, as if hoping I would change my mind. But my resolve was unwavering.
I closed the door in his face, severing the ties that had bound us together for the past 8 months. The breakup was painful, but it was also liberating. I felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I was finally free from Raoul's manipulation, his control, and his constant need for validation. But the story didn't end there. I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to confront him, to hold him accountable for his actions. And then an idea sparked in my mind. I still had the wooden serving tray that I had commissioned for Monica and Stanley. It was a beautiful piece, a testament to my thoughtfulness and generosity. Raoul had taken credit for it, passing it off as his own creation. I decided to reclaim what was rightfully mine and to expose Raoul for the fraud he was. The next day, I drove to Raoul's family's house. I clutched the serving tray in my hands, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. I knew this wouldn't be easy, but I was prepared to face the consequences. I rang the doorbell. Raoul's mother answered, her face etched with curiosity. "Nadia?" she said, her voice surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to Raoul," I said, my voice firm. She hesitated for a moment, then reluctantly opened the door. Raoul was sitting in the living room, looking sheepish. His sister Monica and her husband Stanley were also there. "What do you want, Nadia?" Raoul said, his voice guarded. I held up the serving tray. "I want you to tell your family the truth about this," I said. "Tell them who really commissioned it, who really put the thought and effort into creating it." Raoul's face paled. He knew he was cornered. "What are you talking about?" his mother said, her brow furrowed. "Raoul didn't make this," I said, my voice clear and steady. "I did. I commissioned it from a local artisan. I spent weeks designing it, choosing the materials, and ensuring it was perfect. Raoul just took credit for it. A gasp escaped Monica's lips. She looked at her brother with disbelief. Is this true, Raoul? She said, her voice trembling. He didn't answer. His silence was an admission of guilt. And that's not all, I continued, my voice gaining strength. He locked me in a car at your wedding, Monica. He introduced me as his friend to your family. He prioritized his ex over my feelings. He treated me like I was someone to be ashamed of. The room was silent. Everyone was staring at Raoul, their faces filled with shock and disappointment. I can't believe you would do something like that, Raoul, his mother said, her voice laced with anger. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, he stammered. I just wanted to impress you all. Impress us? His father boomed. By lying and manipulating? That's not how we raised you. Monica and Stanley were equally disgusted. They had always admired Raoul, but now they saw him in a new light. They realized that he was not the man they thought he was. I'm so sorry, Nadia, Monica said, her voice filled with remorse. I had no idea. It's okay, Monica, I said. I just wanted you to know the truth. I turned to Raoul, my eyes filled with disappointment. You may have fooled your family for a while, Raoul, I said, but you can't fool yourself. You know what you did was wrong, and you'll have to live with that for the rest of your life.
I placed the serving tray on the table and walked out of the house, leaving Raoul to face the consequences of his actions. The aftermath was swift and decisive. Raoul was ostracized by his family. His parents were ashamed of him, and his sister and brother-in-law were disgusted by his behavior. He had lost their respect, their trust, and their love. To my surprise, Monica reached out to me a few days later. She apologized again for Raoul's behavior and thanked me for exposing the truth. She admitted that she had always felt a bit uneasy about Raoul's relationship with me, but she had never suspected the extent of his deception. She then told me something else. You know that wooden serving tray? Raoul told us he spent weeks making it. Stanley and I were so touched because we know he isn't handy. You were the one who was thoughtful, and Raoul took the credit. We were so touched. It was the best gift we had received. Monica and Stanley became my unlikely allies. They admired my courage, my honesty, and my unwavering commitment to my own self-worth. They saw through Raoul's facade and recognized the kind, compassionate person I truly was. They insisted on compensating me for the cost of the serving tray, and they even offered to pay for a weekend getaway to a spa. I initially refused, but they were insistent. They wanted to show me how much they appreciated my friendship and my willingness to stand up for myself. A few weeks later, Monica and Stanley invited me to join them on a trip to Japan. They had been planning the trip for months, but they felt like they needed a change of pace. They offered to cover half of my expenses, insisting that it would be their way of thanking me for everything I had done. I hesitated at first.
I had never been to Japan before, and the thought of traveling alone was daunting. But Monica and Stanley were so encouraging, so supportive, that I eventually agreed. The trip to Japan was transformative. I explored ancient temples, wandered through vibrant markets, and marveled at the stunning natural beauty of the country. I immersed myself in the local culture, learning about the traditions, the customs, and the cuisine. Monica and Stanley were wonderful travel companions. They were kind, considerate, and always willing to go the extra mile to ensure that I was having a good time. We laughed, we shared stories, and we formed a bond that would last a lifetime. Meanwhile, Raoul tried desperately to reconcile. He bombarded me with texts, calls, and emails, begging for forgiveness. He promised to change, to be a better man, to treat me with the respect I deserved, but I ignored him.
I had moved on. I had found peace, healing, and a newfound sense of self-worth. I no longer needed Raoul's validation, his approval, or his love. I realized that I had been so focused on seeking validation from others that I had forgotten to validate myself. I had allowed Raoul to define my worth, to dictate my happiness, and to control my life. But no more. I was in control now.
I was the master of my own destiny. I learned that true love is not about changing yourself to fit someone else's expectations. It's about finding someone who loves you for who you are, flaws and all. It's about being with someone who respects you, supports you, and encourages you to be the best version of yourself. And while I hadn't found that love with Raul, I had found something even more valuable. Self-love. I had learned to appreciate my own worth, to value my own opinions, and to trust my own instincts.
I had become a stronger, more confident, and more independent woman. Raoul thought he could control me, manipulate me, and lock me away in a box of his own making, but he was wrong. I broke free. I soared. And I never looked back. Some people try to dim your light, but remember, you have the power to shine even brighter. Please, subscribe for more stories.